Alright, welcome back to the channel, guys, and welcome to another top 10 video for the Dynasty Warrior series. This time we're going to be talking about the top 10 most tragic characters within the Dynasty Warrior series. So we're going to be looking at 10 characters today that I think, either through their changes, their story, or perhaps another piece of information for this character, makes them a pretty tragic character for the series. And as we go through each character, I'll explain why. And these characters, at the end of their story, or the piece of information that they have, it just makes me kind of feel bad for them. So these are my top 10 characters that I think have the roughest time within the Dynasty Warrior series. Before we jump into it, we always have to talk about an honorable mention. And the one that I want to give you guys today is Mr. Shahoba. So Shahoba, I think, is an interesting tragic character. The way his story is displayed in Dynasty Warriors is pretty, I would say it's pretty tragic. I wouldn't go as far to say it's like heartbreaking or anything like that, but I would say that you definitely feel for the character, especially in Dynasty Warriors 8, towards like the historical route, that when he has to make that decision to leave, especially Dynasty Warriors 9, they do a great job with his event, where he's got that conflicted feeling of turning back or should he just leave, and you kind of feel for the character. At least I do. I feel for the character watching him go through that when he's faced with the inevitability of fighting against his former team. You can almost see the regret, in a way, kind of, from this character when he's talking to Sima Zhao, or even like Go Huai before he ends up getting killed and everything like that. But I would say Shahoba is a good start, a good honorable mention. I don't think his story was enough to put him in the top 10, but I think he was a good start, and that's why he's here at the honorable mention spot. So with that being said, we're going to jump into the top 10 most tragic characters in the game. Again, just characters that when you watch their story, you feel kind of bad for them. Number 10, Zhuge Dan.
I will rebuild Wei under the Emperor.
So starting off with number 10, we have Mr. Zhuge Dan. Now, I'm not necessarily going to say that we feel bad for him at the end of it, but he does have a tragic story. Starting off from, being on the wayside until, betrayal and the arrogance, whatever quality that he possesses in order to think that he can betray Wei and bring it to its former glory by going to Wu to do that. Very tragic end for this character because he thought what he was doing was right, even though the game's presented as him being tricked by Wen Qin and even the Emperor at the time in order to use him to try and do some damage to the Sima clan at that time. But for me, I think Zhuge Dan's a good choice at number 10. He's not the strongest choice, and again, I don't feel bad for him by the end of his story. It's just the way it kind of went about and how he got mixed up and everything is tragic in itself, and that's why I think he's a good choice here at number 10. Number 9, Lu Bu.
Cao Cao! Curse you! Why? You can't kill me! You're nothing!
Alright, coming in at number 9, we have Lu Bu, and basically his death is kind of a tragic end to a great warrior. Now, the way Lu Bu is displayed in the games is arrogant, the best of the best, and he can't listen to nobody, he's stubborn, and all those other negative attributes you want to put to him. But the way that he goes out is tragic in a way, because just barking out and losing control of himself and just having that unhinged kind of behavior before he kind of gets cut down it's tragic to watch. It's very tragic to watch. It gives me a conflicted feeling to watch it, because seeing the strongest character in the game and the way that he's been introduced so many times kind of being killed like that is tough to watch. Just in the fact that he had such an unhinged behavior towards his death, which it makes sense. It fits right into the character. Again, not a super strong choice in terms of tragicness, but for me, I look at it as a very strong character. He represents so much, and then his death is it just puts a dent in his story. Very tragic, kind of to see him go out like that, throwing his little tantrum. So that's why I think he's a good choice, number 9. Not super strong, but it's definitely there. Number 8, Zhang Fei.
Who sent you? There's another one?
Alright, coming in number 8, we have Zhang Fei. Similar to Lu Bu, I'm going off of his death that makes him tragic. The reason I say that is because of his history, and because in the game he's kind of brutish and barbaric in a way. So seeing him going out in Dynasty Warriors 9 was tragic. it was a pretty tragic end to Zhang Fei, because it's hard to say that we didn't see it coming. It was kind of deserving of how he was belligerent, treating his fellow soldiers and pushing them to the brink, whatever it may be. So in a way, he kind of deserved it, but it was still tragic the way that gets killed, and he's reaching out, and I think Dynasty Warriors 9 honestly just plays into that. So again, similar to Lu Bu, I think Zhang Fei, just because of the way he gets killed in Dynasty Warriors 9, I think he has a slightly more tragic story, because instead of the barbaricness when it happens, right, he kind of just accepts the fact that he gets stabbed and he's dying and apologizes at the end. He has a redeeming quality of humility by the time he gets killed, and then yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I think Zhang Fei's death is a tragic end for him, even though I think most of us would have seen it coming. Number 7, Yuan Shao.
You should be beneath me!
I am insulted. As the head of the noble Yuan family, I've a duty to support the imperial throne.
Alright, coming in number 7, now we kind of get into the main points. Like, these are like the actual tragic characters. The first 3, they definitely had their moments, and of course Xiaoba, but I think this is where the list really starts, at least in my opinion, gets to the actual meat. So number 7, Yuan Shao. So the reason that he is a tragic character, not just because of Guandu and the failure there, but because of the way the game changed his character. He went from a tolerable, noble, he still had his outbursts, but it was such a good dichotomous character from pre-Dynasty Warriors 6 era, because he had the look, the presence of a noble commander that it makes sense why people follow him. But he still had his outbursts and just like, this is not fair, throwing his tantrum, but it fit, it balanced him. Then you get to Dynasty Warriors 6, 7, and 8, they change him tragically. There's no more room for balance. They just went over the top with him, just completely arrogant, obnoxious, and just a character that you just can't help but just be like, dude, what is your problem? And then the look that he has just plays right into that. It's no longer this decently respected commander of the North. Now in Dynasty Warriors 9, they pull it back a little bit. They go back kind of to his older look. They give him the armor, and he looks better. His personality also is a little bit better as well. He's not as obnoxious, as flamboyant from the previous games, but he still has hints of it. I honestly like the way he looked in the older games, and for me, the reason that he's number 7, the reason that he's on this list, is because of the way they tragically changed him from how he looked before until now. And I think it was to accentuate the fact that he was flamboyant, obnoxious, throwing tantrums. It's just a tragic kill to the character, and that's why he's here at number 7. Number 6, Wei Yan.
No, not yet! You made free! It is not yet!
Alright, next up, coming at number 6, we have the barbarian himself, Wei Yan. So Wei Yan's a very interesting choice for the list, and the reason that he's on here is for 2 reasons. First one is his in-game representation versus his historical contribution. Wei Yan is one of the, I think he's the only character who received the highest rank under Liu Bei as the administrator of Hanzhong. His historical information and contributions is pretty good. I would say he's quite an important figure for the middle and later parts of Shu. But in the game, of course, they strip that down, and he is just a barbarian that people are constantly weary of, Zhuge Liang doesn't trust, and Wei Yan's tragic in the fact that they stripped down all of his historical importance and made him this barbarian. I think it was to play into the fact and to make it easier, even though they don't even mention it, that Ma Dai ends up killing Wei Yan because of false accusations, which honestly just puts a tragic bow on his whole story, because he was never, at least from the information I've read, he was never intending to betray Shu or do anything that was harmful or anything of that nature. But because of, I think, some sort of rivalry he had with somebody, I think after Zhuge Liang passed away, he really pushed the narrative that Wei Yan was up to no good. Ma Dai was ordered to kill Wei Yan, which is a tragic end for that character, because it's just like, he had so many accolades, so much contribution to the Shu kingdom, but it was like it didn't even matter. And then he ends up getting killed by false accusations, which is crazy. It's a crazy, tragic story. Definitely deserves to be on this list, and it's just unfortunate that that's how his story came to an end. Number 5, Sai Wenji.
At the time, I felt that there was only sadness and violence in the chaos.
Alright, coming at number 5, the main reason that she's on this list, starting at the top 5, because her actual historical information is dark. Very dark, very tragic character. I think they allude to it in Dynasty Warriors 9. I think they allude to some of what she went through in history. I mean, the ending for her, like her ending cutscene, the name of it is Songs of Hope. She talks about hopes a lot in dark places and all that. And she's had a pretty rough and dark history. The only reason that she starts at top 5, not because of in-game, like I don't think they would ever bring that into the game, but she definitely has a dark historical past. Definitely one of the most tragic characters. Because like even in like her looks, all right, let's take her face for example. For Saiwenji's face, you can see she has a similar look to somebody who has been through a lot and puts on a face of I'm doing okay now, but you can still see the cloud of darkness following her around in a way. And that's pretty much all I have for her. Number 4, Liu
Continue to
Shan.
make these offensive campaigns to the north.
And you ask me why?
No, that's not what I mean. I was just trying to say, continuing a fight that hurts the people for the sake of a dream. What are we doing? I cannot help but wonder where we are headed with all of this.
Alright, coming in number 4, we have Liu Shan. Should be a no-brainer to have him on the list. He has a very tragic story in the sense that he was pushed into a situation that he technically didn't even want to be in the first place. And because of all these people looking at him, the thousands of people that are so attached to Liu Bei's dream, they're putting all this weight and pressure on this young man's shoulders. And he didn't know what to do. He didn't know where to take the kingdom, where to push it to. Everything was just whatever you think, Zhuge Liang. And then after Zhuge Liang passed away, whatever you think, Jiang Wei and Huang Hao and Fei Yi and all the administrators that were around then. And then even in glimpses of starting to think for himself a little bit and just wants to have a conversation with Jiang Wei about why it's so fervent to continuously drain resources to attack Wei in the north, he immediately gets shut down. So just a very tragic character. And even in the end when he surrenders, you've got all these people that call him a coward instead of understanding that what he's doing is for the good of his people. But regardless, like I said, Liu Shan's on the list. It's just unfortunate for him that he got put in that situation and then failed. And then got blamed for failing, right? He didn't even want to be there in the first place, fails, and then gets called a coward for failing. So, Liu Shan coming in number 4 for me is, I think, a good choice. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Number 3, Jiang Wei.
That I would never give up until we had built a land of benevolence.
We could still fight. We could have fought. And achieved all of the Prime Minister's wishes. Why?
Alright, staying on the topic of Shu, we've got Mr. Jiang Wei, one of the most tragic characters within this series. Not only because of his, his story and the way he progresses everything, but because of the way the game changes him. Dynasty Warriors 3, 4, and 5, I think Jiang Wei was alright. Same thing with Yuan Shao, right? He was balanced. He did everything he could in the name of bringing Zhuge Liang's dream to life. Dynasty Warriors 7, 8, and 9, again, they push it to the extreme. He becomes a tragic character not only in the eyes of his own story, but in the eyes of the fan base as well. People do not like Jiang Wei because of what they've done to him. The passion to continuously push and push and push for, of course, he has his reason, but for what? He's constantly losing. And he was so adamant on defeating Wei that he couldn't even see the damage that it was doing to his own kingdom, which ended up leading to their downfall. And then in the end of his story, he gets so desperate, or whatever word you want to use, that he teams up with Zhang Hui to start a rebellion. And then before the rebellion even kicks off, they get killed by a mutiny within the rebellion. Jiang Wei is one of the most tragic characters in the game, hands down. Not only in his story, but because of the way the fan base views him. The writers kind of took his story in a way and made it to where it was just toxic. There's not another word I can really think of, but if you weren't in agreement in what he thought was best, then he would lash out against you, or he would think something's wrong with you. Like, how can you be a soldier or an affiliate of Shu and not feel the same way that I do? So I think Jiang Wei's, after Dynasty Warriors 5, takes a turn for the worse in his character. Obviously his story is very tragic as well, but I think for me, him being here at third, the main point is his story, but also the way the game kind of changes him to be this character that's just so unwilling to listen to people in his own kingdom, to the point where it's self-destructive. And that's why he's up here at number 3. Number 2, Zhu Shu.
He needs at this time. I wish I could be like you, but it is simply beyond me.
Alright, coming in at number 2, we have one of the most tragic characters in the game, Mr. Zhu Shu, and it's similarly on par with his history, especially in Dynasty Warriors 9. I just can't help but feel bad for this character by the end of his story, because this is a character within the game who was basically living the rest of his life in just regret and reluctance and just, I don't know, darkness in a way, hopelessness. It's just so, I feel for this character. Watching his story in Dynasty Warriors 9 was pretty heartbreaking. Doesn't know what to do, just gives up. I feel bad for him. I honestly feel really bad for him. You know, the whole thing with his mother, I definitely understand, and that's why he had to go back. But yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of information for Zhu Shu. His story's pretty short, and his time in the Three Kingdoms period, at least that's what's been recorded, is pretty short as well. But I think he is among the most tragic characters. It's just hard to watch his ending in Dynasty Warriors 9. It's like one of those people where they talk about what they could have been and what they could have done, and they have so much regret, and you can see it in their eyes and the way they talk, and that's Zhu Shu in this game, and that's why I just feel bad for him. One of the most tragic characters, hands down. Don't have much else for him. Zhu Shu. Number 1, Eugene.
I would like to offer my surrender.
General, have you lost your mind?
What kind of person are you?
And then coming in at number 1, we've got one of the 5 elite generals of Wei, Eugene. I mean, that in itself is the reason why he's number 1. One of the 5 elite generals of Wei, having one of the most tragic ends in the Dynasty Warriors series. Dynasty Warriors 9 was interesting. I talked about it in this video. His ending was a little weird. Whole, like, you know, I'm gonna do it on purpose to drain the resources so we can potentially come out on top later on. I don't know about all that. The way that his story comes to an end historically is extremely tragic. This is a character who was an excellent commander, and I think anytime he led the battle or led units into battle, he never lost. And I'm pretty sure he was entrusted multiple times by Cao Cao to lead the army. Like, he was the commander. He was the main guy that Cao Cao would rely on. It's just such a tragic end to such an amazing character, because he had so many accolades, so many victories, killing so many people, doing so well up until the Battle of Fon Castle, where everything just falls apart. His men get wiped out by the flood attack, and he decides to surrender. After that happened, and he gets called a coward and all this other stuff, he comes back and he's super frail, and it's kind of similar to Zhu Shu in a way. You know, he kind of had like this amazing person. He had all these like amazing stories about this person, the accolades. He comes back to camp. He finally returns after years of being a prisoner of war, whatever it may be. And he's this frail old man. I mean, you probably don't even recognize him. Like, he's a shadow of his former self, and that in itself makes him the most tragic character in this game. He was among the highest in the Wei Kingdom, and then ends up being among the lowest. Like, he has the perfect arc of a tragic character in this game, and that's why he's number 1 for me as the most tragic character within the Dynasty Warriors series. I just can't help but feel for the character by the end of his story. And that's pretty much it for the video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. That's all I have. If you guys have any ideas again for any top 10 videos, let me know, or anything Dynasty Warriors related, just let me know down below and I will make it. I've made a lot of these videos. I enjoy making these videos, but I am running out of ideas. No, I'm just kidding. So just let me know down below what you guys want to see. But other than that, guys, that's all I have. If you guys enjoyed it, definitely appreciate a like, comment, or subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching, everyone.